Is your architecture productivity lacking? Do you find yourself kind of sitting down for hours on end and working your butt off, but for some reason things take way longer than you think they should? Is your productivity not as good as you want it to be, or as good as other architecture students seem to be? When you start to understand and implement good productivity habits in architecture, things are going to change. Hey there, I'm Liz Watt. Welcome back to RChimash, the best place for aspiring architects to learn faster and easier. In this episode, I'm going to talk about how to get more productive as an architecture student. So when you lay down some really good habits, things are going to get a whole lot easier all around. I'm going to talk through 9 tips that will help your productivity as an architecture student. So if this interests you, then keep watching and make sure you subscribe. Let's start with the question, what is productivity, and some simple definitions. Production is the process of combining various inputs, all coming together to make some kind of product or thing. Now, inputs can be tangible materials, resources, or physical things. They can also be more intangible thought processes or mental or emotional input. We all know what it's like to put your heart and your soul and all your energy into something that just doesn't turn out as planned. Now, productivity is the measure of efficiency and effectiveness of producing. In other words, what is the value of that outcome or result compared to all the stuff that goes in, the amount of time, energy, and resources invested? Efficiency is the ability to avoid wasting materials, resources, energy, effort, money, and the time to produce the desired results. Effectiveness is the capability of producing the desired result. So here are 9 tips about how to be more efficient, effective, and productive architecture student. Firstly, get inspired. The truth is that real productivity comes from inspiration. Inspiration is the result of moving towards something or engaging in things that really bring you happiness or joy. As you do more things that interest or excite you, you get more inspired and desire to do even more. It's really hard to force yourself to do something that you dislike or you're just not interested in. So if you're finding that you're just not excited by architecture in general, well, then it may just be time to consider a different career path that actually inspires you. If you're finding that a particular subject or project is feeling a little boring or really hard work, then it's time to get inspired and find what you enjoy or are interested in about it. So you can do this in a couple of ways. So firstly, find something about this particular subject or project that interests you and put your focus into that. So for example, in a design project, you might be interested in the aspects of the light and shadow on a particular site, and focus on developing the main ideas of your project around that. In a history or theory subject, you might be interested in the influence of history on modern designers. So if there's something that interests you, consider working with your lecturer or tutor so you can adjust the project or assignment to accommodate that area of focus. Chances are they're much more likely to find a way to have an excited student in their class. Find something about this particular subject or project that connects to something that interests you and is important to you. So for example, if you're finding literally the nuts and bolts of construction a little boring, consider how these building systems could be applied to current or past design projects that you've done. Everything is somehow connected to everything else in architecture. Everything. The second tip is to set big goals. Get clear about what you want to receive from or achieve by the end of a particular project, subject, semester, or year. Where are you starting and where do you want to end? Make your goals big and outrageous and something that inspires and excites you to work towards. So find something that you can measure and see your results as you go. Even if you never get there, it's going to give you something clear to work towards, and you can always continue in the next project. If you set a goal of finishing the project, you'll finish it to the bare requirements. But if you set a goal of learning some new software or of creating a concept that you love, it's going to help. If you want to aim for a certain grade, then you can work with your tutor throughout the semester to determine what specifically will be required to get you that grade. Third tip is to start now and be consistent. The way to get started on something is to start now. So as soon as you receive a task or a project or assessment, the time to get started on it is right away, or at least in the next few days. At the very least, take some time to create a bit of a plan and build it into your calendar in a bit more detail so that you know where to start. That way you can do a little bit of work on it every day in a really calm and relaxed manner, rather than kind of rush it at the end and then fall behind in other classes. Trying to get a design or construction project completed a few hours at a time over 2 to 3 weeks, rather than trying to cram it all into 48 hours at the end, is always going to be a much better outcome. Your brain really needs time to process and absorb information and ideas with creative processes. And after a large amount of time doing the same thing, you become way less effective. So I've prepared a complete architectural startup student planner for you to download and print. It includes a new semester plan, a typical week plan, master task lists, and weekly and daily planner, as well as some instructions on how to use these documents. The link is in the description below. Now, my fourth tip is plan to plan. Time and task management. One of the greatest skills you can learn and really master as an architect is planning, in particular, planning and managing your task and your time. So task management is identifying specifically what you need to do and defining the result that will tell you when that's complete and when you've done what you need to do. Time management is identifying when you're going to do these tasks or activities and then sticking to it. So planning can often be overlooked or discarded because you're not actually producing anything tangible towards your result or outcome by planning. It can feel like wasted time. Planning does not develop the design or get the essay written. However, planning is critical in ensuring that you produce what is required most efficiently and effectively as possible. So make sure you plan to plan and include this time in each day, week, month, semester, or year. A couple of things you can do to get you started on managing your time is to, first of all, clarify the task or assignment and get clear on what you're being asked to produce. That way you can plan the most effective path to get there, rather than wasting time on things that do not matter and do not affect the outcome. Then you can start to break this large task or project down into much smaller, sort of more manageable chunks or tasks. In many subjects, you'll be given very clear, manageable activities, tasks, or exercises each week, such as completing a reading or watching a video, or a specific design task such as a collage, a site analysis, or concept development. As soon as you have a specific task, get it into your productivity system and then do it. If you want to know more about productivity, check out the episode titled How to Create a New Semester Plan for Architecture Students, or 3 Steps to Create a Simple Student Weekly Plan for Architecture Students. The links are in the description. Now, my 5th tip is to prioritize. Once you know what you have to do and when you should be doing it, you need to prioritize. So this is about considering what is the best and most effective use of your time. We need to know what is going to get the best outcome or result for the time, the energy, and the effort we put into it. So for example, you might have scheduled an afternoon to do some creative work, but you're tired and you're just not really that inspired. Your head's a bit cloudy. In fact, afternoons may generally not be your creative time, but perhaps early mornings are, or you might be a night owl and get really inspired at 11 o'clock at night. Forcing yourself is not going to get the great ideas you want. Instead, be a bit flexible and maybe spend the afternoon to work through some software tutorials that need to be done but do not require creative processes. In future, give yourself maybe morning time for the creative stuff and afternoon time for the more sort of mundane. Or if you're watching television or surfing the net, ask yourself, is this really a priority for me? It may be that it's not, and you get back to work. Or another 10 minutes will give you a well-needed mental break. Or maybe getting off the screen and sitting in the sun for 10 minutes is a better way to refresh. The 6th tip is to get rid of distraction. So get rid of the things that distract you and waste your time. Cut out television, video games, or browsing on the internet. You'll be amazed by how much time you waste on this stuff. Track yourself for a single day in 15-minute increments and just note how much time is spent on unproductive stuff. Track yourself for a week and then multiply this by 52 to find out how much time you actually waste in a year. it may horrify you. So instead, give yourself an allocated time each day for these activities after you've completed the things that you want to do. That way you can savor and really appreciate your 1 hour on video games rather than wasting away hours and hours and hours. 7th tip is to prepare for tomorrow, today. So at the end of every day or during your evening, have a look at what you need to complete the next day and make a list. That way you have a plan for your day and you can cross off each item once you do it. This is going to motivate and inspire you to keep going when you can see tangible results from your effort and input. Tip 8. Stop multitasking. While you might think you can jump from one thing to another with 57 different screens open, responding to emails as they arrive, trying to develop a design presentation in InDesign while listening to sort of your online history lecture in the background, you can't. This sort of thing reduces productivity. You will take twice as long to do everything with half the result compared to doing each task properly, one at a time. Every time you jump from one task to another, your brain has to kind of stop and recalibrate and figure out where it is, which all takes time. Multitasking is generally a bit of a myth. Tip number 9 is self-care. So probably the most important aspect of productivity, but usually the most overlooked, especially in architecture and design disciplines, is self-care. Now, like planning, this is not often considered productive as it does not directly contribute to the outcome or result. However, self-care is essential for the long-term and sustainability of a career in architecture. You're not a machine or a robot who can run on empty and turn on and turn off. You are a human being who needs sleep, nutrition, water, exercise, fresh air, connection with friends and family, and other hobbies and interests. You're not just an architecture student or an architectural practitioner. This is just one thing you do. It's one part of you. So in the past, when I went to university many years ago, the number of all-nighters students did was kind of worn like a badge of honor. We'd arrive at presentations straight from the drawing board or computer unshowered, with no sleep, no time to eat, and living off coffee and junk food. Now, this mentality still exists in some architecture schools and even in some practices. However, while the odd kind of all-nighter or late night for a deadline maybe once or twice a semester may be achievable if you catch up on sleep, it's really unsustainable for the long term, and it's a crappy habit to get into. While you're young, you might feel okay and even invincible with the sacrifices you made for the best render ever or the most amazing model in the room. But eventually, and I can tell you this from experience, this will catch up with you in the form of physical, mental, or emotional unwellness. As an architecture and design student, it is essential to set up a lifestyle and a routine that includes a good 8 hours sleep a night, time to prepare and eat nutritional meals, see your friends and family, earn a living, and study a degree. You need to plan, prioritize, and commit to creating a really well-rounded life and looking after yourself. If you fall into an exhausted heap, you will not be able to achieve anything. So where does this take us? Well, to manage architectural study as well as the other aspects of your life requires good skills in productivity, including everything we've talked about here. But it's just a start. Taking the time to learn and practice these skills will put you in a great position for when you're ready to enter the workforce. Rather than trying to do everything at once, just kind of pick one new habit and focus on that. Then, when that's in place, choose the next one. It may take a week, a month, a year to master. With each new skill or habit you put in place, you're becoming more and more productive and laying a great foundation on which to build a career and a life. As you become more productive, you'll be able to learn, create, and produce more and more each year as you work towards becoming a master of your craft. You have a lifetime to practice productivity. You don't have to do it all today, but you can certainly start with just one thing. So which one are you going to choose? Again, If you haven't yet got your free Architectural Startup Student Planner, the link is in the description. You can download your new semester and weekly plans and task lists and get started right away. If you want to know more, make sure you consider subscribing to my channel because I have a ton of content to share with you to help make learning, studying, and practicing architecture easier and faster. While you wait for the next episode, make sure you check out some of my other work either here or at rchimash.com. That's everything for today. I hope you found it helpful. Have a great day, and I will see you next time.